Hey, Gaga.
Oh, hey, Santa.
No, it's me, Sanlang. Wait, you know Santa?
Of course I know Santa. Who do you think mined all the coal for him?
The elves? Anyways, today's a pretty big day.
Yeah, it's the day of my 5th book release. Woo!
We'll take your car so we can get there even faster. Put your seatbelt on so you can be nice and safe. Mwah. And let's put this baby in gear.
Wait, Sanlang, there's something I have to tell you about my car.
What? It seems fine to me.
Gaga, no! Oh my god, he's not breathing. Gaga, come back. Sanlang, I'm fine. Sanlang, I was just joking. I pranked you. Like, yeah, you pranked me that one time. I understand that was very cruel now. Don't worry, Sanlang. Gaga's bounce.
What's up, guys? It's Kictor. Today I got book 5 of Tgcf. If you guys would like to purchase this, you can click the link on Amazon down below. That was the only thing that was able to deliver it to me today. I did go to so many bookstores in my area and no one had it, but Amazon ended up delivering it by the end of the day today. Thank God, because this book has some of the most funny, romantic, and plot thickening scenes out of all of Tgcf. If this is your first time reading through Tgcf, I'm so excited for you, and if you're picking it back up, I'm so excited for you. One of the absolute highlights that we have to talk about is that Huacheng goes tiny in this book. Huacheng goes baby size. It's always hilarious when you take the most powerful, badass character and make him baby tiny sized. And Hualian is so endeared by it. He gets overcome with the notion of, oh my god, look at my son, he's so handsome, I can't wait to tell everybody that you're my son, look at you, you're so perfect and handsome and I love you, in a just because you look really cute, you know, an adorable kind of way, not because I actually love you. Also, as English translation readers, we are quite lucky because we are getting extra volumes. The original volumes were 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but we are getting 8 volumes, which means we're getting more artwork. And this is one of the new pieces included. Tai 3 is the cover artist for Heaven Official's Blessing, and I love their style. This is just such a handsome little cute little moment, and it's just so them, it's so Hualian, it's so Sanlang on that edge of dangerous and cute, and Hualian just being so endeared. I do believe this is a scene from the first book where he's doing his hair to check if he's a ghost or not by checking the strands of his hair. But also, they've been together so long that you can't help but think that if Sanlang's hair does come out, Hualian would be the one to fix it. Like a little routine they've developed, and he always makes it a little crooked. But nevertheless, it's still just as gorgeous, so I want to look at some of the interior art and look at the little Easter eggs together before reading a very impactful, romantic, and funny scene. So the motif on this one is there's a lot of leaves, and if you turn the page, there's actually a maple leaf inside. So it's very like Poochie Shrine vibes, very comforting Hualian vibes, which is what we're going to need for the next book. So you can look at this book and appreciate the art before the next book comes, which I can assure you you're going to need the comfort. So we get a slightly bigger picture. You can see the big arches of a building behind them and some little birds following after them. It's just a very picturesque, romantic little setting. And the interior special art is strong Gaga lifting up Sanlang and holding him. Huacheng has his arms crossed and a little bird on his head. Hualian is also balancing on some logs like a feat of martial arts. It's just so cute. Domestic Hualian at its finest. I absolutely love it. Now for a little sneak peek, the time where Huacheng sounds a little British because he says, "Try touching him, I dare you." Huacheng warned frigidly, "Do you think I would so easily allow you lot to touch my heart's dearest treasure?" Gaga, do you think you're his special someone yet? He doesn't. But of course, that just took place during a little role play that they were pretending to do in front of some strangers to intimidate them. So of course, Hualian wouldn't think that's what he actually meant, even though those words are so true. There's another character we also get a look at, and that is Tsu, and that is Function's half ghost demon child that bites his arm off and is a menace through the entire book with his little butt hanging out. I gotta say, between the two babies we get in this book, Hua Cheng is a little bit cuter, but I think Hua Cheng might think he looks like Zuzu inside. That's why his self-esteem is so low. Now, for the scene that I want to read, I picked this scene in particular because it has probably one of the best quotes of the entire book, and it's not one that I see shared around too often. This is a very important scene that reveals a lot about Hua Cheng and how he views love, and also how much Xilian respects Hua Cheng's views on things. Also, Xilian really opens up to Hua Cheng about something he's never told anyone before, and Hua Cheng is able to relieve a strong twist of guilt he's had in his heart in just a second by speaking a simple sentence. And I'd like to read that scene now. In the past, Feng Xin slept with a girl that he liked, and they had a kid, but it did not work out. Xilian feels a little bit guilty about this because he thinks that the reason it didn't work out is because Feng Xin was so poor. And one of the reasons Feng Xin was so poor was because he stayed devoted to him as his bodyguard, as his royal servant. And that was when times were really, really tough, and they were both going around hungry, and Feng Xin got this girl pregnant while they had no money, and it just didn't work out, and Xilian can't help but think that he's partially responsible for that. This is something he has never told anybody, and he is now bringing it up to Hua Cheng. He and Hua Cheng traveled for a while, and once they had left the barren hills behind, they finally found a real inn and stopped to rest. The past few days felt like a fury of chaos to Xilian. He sat on the windowsill, lost in thought. Royer curled around his arm, rubbing against him gently as if it were purring, and Xilian scratched it absent-mindedly. Hua Cheng came to the window to bathe under the same moonlight. He spoke his mind. It has nothing to do with you. Xilian was shaken out of his reverie. He soon understood what that meant, but he shook his head. I don't know if that's true. Feng Xin must have befriended Miss Jianlan after the fall of Shanle and before his own ascension. That would have been during the years of my first banishment. But that doesn't mean you're at fault for how things turned out, Hua Cheng said. After some thought, Xilian said, Sanlang, I've never talked about my first banishment, have I? No, Hua Cheng said. I've never told anyone. I hope you don't mind if I make you listen to me babble, Xilian said. Hua Cheng lightly pushed himself up onto the windowsill to sit there as well. I don't mind. Go ahead. Xilian began to speak, chasing his memories. Back then, the only subordinate I had left was Feng Xin, and life was very difficult. The possessions I had while I was a martial god, while I was a crown prince, were all pawned off. Hua Cheng chuckled. Including Hong Jing, right? Xilian smiled gaily. That's right. Junwu can't know about that. Do keep it a secret for me. And those dozens of golden belts. They were pawned too. So Feng Xin took one of your golden belts and gave it to Lan Chang? Hua Cheng asked. Xilian shook his head. I don't think that's true. Feng Xin wouldn't have taken my things so frivolously. I was the one who told him to sell it and to keep the money for himself. That was essentially Xilian giving him a lot of money for no reason. Feng Xin had repeatedly declined the offer at the time, but Xilian was relentless, and in the end, he had said, I'll keep it for you. For now. It's shameful to admit this, but the reason I made him sell those things and keep the money wasn't just out of guilt, it was also out of fear. With all his devotees gone, only Feng Xin still treated him like the flower-crowned martial god and His Highness the Crown Prince. Only then did Xilian realize that, even though they had grown up together and Feng Xin was his trusted servant and bodyguard, he had not once received any special reward. Suddenly, Xilian knew fear. Fear that Feng Xin would decide that this life was too hard and stop following him. Thus, that golden belt wasn't meant as a reward. It wasn't purely a gift or a show of appreciation, more one of compensation and ingratiation. Xilian had seen a protection charm in the illusion created by the fetus spirit. It was probably something Feng Xin had given to Jianlan. After Shanle fell, all of Xilian's temples and shrines were burned down. Not a single soul believed in the Crown Prince of Shanle anymore, and his protection charms were seen as trash. However, Feng Xin was still determined and tirelessly handed them out, all the while telling Xilian, look, you still have devotees. But Xilian knew deep down that all those protection charms were most likely thrown away. Even after so many years, I never knew if Feng Xin fancied anyone. I never asked, and I never paid attention, Xilian said slowly. After all, he had been the darling of the heavens since birth, high and mighty and above all. Function naturally orbited around him like he was the sun, so how could he possibly have his own life and own heart? It might not sound great to give a girl something you yourself had been given, but that golden belt was genuinely the best gift Function could manage at the time. After all, we were frequently missing meals, and Function wasn't someone who'd spend wastefully. It's easy to imagine how much he liked Miss Janlan, but if he liked her so much, why did they split up? Whether or not the fetus spirit was Function's son, Hualian couldn't forgive himself if that time of poverty made Function lose the girl he loved. If he liked her, but they separated in the end, Huacheng replied, then it proves that what they had was only like. Hualian smiled wistfully. Sunlong, things aren't always that absolute. Sometimes it's not up to you to decide if the road is easy to walk. I might not be able to decide if the road is easy, but whether I walk it is entirely up to me, Huacheng said quietly. Hualian blinked. He felt like a knot in his heart had been untied, and he stared wordlessly at Huacheng. Huacheng tilted his head. Gaga, am I wrong? As he watched Huacheng's twinkling black eyes, Hualian suddenly grabbed hold of him and settled him on his lap. Sunlong, you're very right, ... Huacheng seemed stunned by this and allowed himself to be lifted high in the air. Hualian laughed. Let me be blunt for a moment. The brash way Sunlong said that, it quite resembled my younger self. Huacheng seemed to have grown accustomed to being hugged and tossed around like this, and he quirked his brows. Wow, what a dream. They played around in the room for a while, then Hualian tossed Huacheng onto the bed before climbing on himself. He rolled over to face the ceiling and was about to speak when Huacheng abruptly sat up. His pupils shrank and his eyes turned sharp as he looked across the room, sensing something wrong. Hualian quickly sat up as well. He was awash in a cold sweat the moment he saw what it was. Another person had silently appeared in the room. Somehow, neither of them had sensed a thing until now. The person sat by the table, upon which there was a pot of tea, brewed and ready, its fragrant scent permeating the air. And yet Hualian hadn't even noticed. He couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine as he leveled Fangshen in a defensive stance. Who's there? Do not be afraid, a man's voice replied evenly. Tea, Shanla? There we go. You got the romance, you got the sad backstory, you've got the plot. Oh my god. And you got a little bit of comedy. The part where he's just tossing Huacheng around and tosses him on the bed because he's just little and they're playing is so cute. But the fact that Huacheng was able to alleviate that guilt, rip to Function, but I'm built different. If he treated her that way, that wasn't love. If life gets hard, you don't give up on the people you really love. Like me. I waited 800 years and I never stopped looking for you and I never stopped loving you and I never will. I think it really challenged Hualian's worldview and how he takes guilt upon himself and the responsibility that other people have for their emotions and reactions and things that happened. And of course Hualian probably didn't make Function's life any easier about the matter, but Huacheng was like, you can't hold that guilt. That's on Function to save his relationship, not you. If I was in his boots, I would have saved that relationship if I loved her. So I don't even think he loved her. It's a toss-up, but you clearly see the way that Huacheng sees the world is a different way that Hualian assumed Function saw the world, I suppose. Now that's not to say that their relationship didn't mean anything, but I just love Huacheng's sense of romance. It's the reason why I love these books. It's so romantic. And Hualian, you can see he was upset that their relationship didn't work out, and that's really romantic in its own too. But something else that's really cool about this is the fact that those words reached him shows how much Huacheng means to Hualian and how much he genuinely trusts his words and takes those to heart. Because it's kind of like if someone you don't know gives you good advice, it's kind of like, oh, that's good advice, but like, what do you know? Because Hualian loves Huacheng and Huacheng told him that, it meant everything. Not only was he upset that, you know, Function's relationship didn't work out, he was very upset during that time because he was afraid of Function leaving him. And Huacheng pretty much erased both of those fears. You don't have to be guilty and I will never leave you. We're only on book 5 and he's already saying, I will never leave you. He's been saying it his whole life. He's been saying it since book 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you liked this video and you'd like to help support my channel, you can join my YouTube membership where we hang out and we play games. It is so much fun playing Frantic Fanfic and Gartic Phone. We always do MXTX or Danmei related themes and it is hilarious every single time. You guys can also check out my merch store where I have some fun themed related t-shirts and sweaters. And yeah, thank you guys so much for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Bye and Merry Christmas!